In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, God is one. Amen. Moruda, Anthony. Hope you're having a nice day. The weather here is not too bad in Lincoln. Quite a lot of noise today, so people are obviously getting back to work, which I guess is a good thing. I've got Brother Daniel with me as well today. So, not Brother Daniel, Brother Joseph with me today. He's busy decobwebbing the church as we speak. So quite a lot to do. Now, Brother Daniel's, he was in my mind, so I've just been sending him a message saying happy feast day and to put out the relic of St. Mary Magdalene. Morning, Mary. Maybe today is your feast day as well, your name day, in which case many years. God bless you. I'm just going to switch off the sound here, so if anybody contacts anything, we won't be able to hear it. There we go. Right. Hope everybody's well. Today we're going to be looking at Mark chapter 5, verses 14 to 20. So if you've got those, it's the continuation of the story about the man with all the demons. So let's start reading it. Story so far. Let's see who's here. Good morning, Malenga and Phoebe. And Tony for damp grey Kerry. I think it's not going to be too bad a day here. Says it's grey, it's quite warm, and apparently we might have a bit of rain later on, but I don't think it's going to be too bad. So the story so far is the man has had all the demons thrown out of him, and they've gone into the pigs, and the pigs are rushed down into the sea, and they have drowned. So verse 14, so those who fed the swine fled, and they told it in the city and the country. And they went out to see what it was that had happened. Then they came to Jesus and saw the one who had been demon possessed and had the legion, sitting and clothed and in his right mind, and they were afraid. And those who saw it told them how it happened to him who had been demon possessed, and about the swine. Then they began to plead with him to depart from their region. And when he got into the boat, he who had been demon-possessed begged him that he might be with him. However, Jesus did not permit him, but said to him, "Go home to your friends and tell them what great things the Lord has done for you and how he has compassion on you." So that's the end part of that story. And there are lots of interesting and strange things in it. I found myself getting to the point where, okay, that's enough notes, enough ideas with this one here. There might be time to leave a bit more to later. The reason why, by the way, that Malengatha said the bees are buzzing is that she's just had a nucleus of bees delivered into her hive. 20,000 of them. Every one of them individually counted, and they will be building up their stocks for the winter time. It's quite a late time to have a nucleus at the moment, but they should, if they're well fed, manage their way through the winter. Good morning, Elias and Vera and Father Alexander. Thank you very much indeed, Father Alexander. We have the relic of St. Mary Magdalene in the monastery, so hopefully people will have put that out. Irene C, to you as well, Irene C, and to Frank, good morning, and to Natalia, good morning as well, and also to Judy. I think she's popped up at the bottom there. Okay, so let's have a look at it. Those people feeding the pigs, what do? They run off. They're full of fear, it says. They flee. They fled. They have, in other words, a similar reaction to the demons, which is interesting. And they rush back to their villages and their towns, and they proclaim this as bad news. They tell everybody what has happened. And that is interesting in itself. It's not delightful news. It's bad news. And for them, perhaps, they're not entirely wrong. maybe they think also that they will be destroyed. And we'll come back onto this later on. That they're frightened as well. They have the same reaction as the demons do, and they run away. They don't ask the Lord to go yet, but they run away. And they tell everybody else to come and see what has happened, as if to come and see a disaster. Come and see what horrific thing has happened. We must, all of us, be on our guard. That's an important thought there. And so in verse 15, they all come to see Jesus and also to see the man. Now, a big surprise is awaiting them. And they have now choices about what to do with this big surprise. Previously, as they used to say on all the Batman films, previously, this man was naked. Now he's clothed. Previously, he was out of his mind. Now it says he's in his right mind. Previously, he was screaming and cutting and breaking chains and breaking the fetters that held him fast. Now he's sitting calmly. Previously, they wanted to subdue him. They didn't want to look after him. They wanted to subdue him. But now he's sitting quietly and confidently at the feet of the Lord. He is, as it were, now loved. Big change in this man. But there's another change. The people will look at him and they see what has happened to him, and they're not saying to himself, wow, how wonderful. Just think what he could do to us, this Jesus. He could come to our town. He could heal the sick. He could cleanse lepers. He could raise the dead. He could deal with all sorts of other problems that we have. Instead of which, they look at the man, and this is all part and parcel of the bad news that they perceive. You remember beforehand, they didn't really want him to be tamed. He lived out in the tombs. They chained him up and they tried to subdue him. They didn't try to love him and care for him. And also the other thing is that quite interesting. The people who come are not called an oklos. They come, as it were, not as a disordered rabble. They come, and you can almost imagine them with the mayor and the mayoress and everybody else all standing there having a good look and saying, oh. And this is what happens. They also react with fear. Instead of reacting with joy and love and delight and pleasure at seeing this man now completely healed, completely well, they receive they come there in fear. They receive the testimony about what happened to the man, how he is healed, and including what happened to their pigs. And then they have an even bigger reaction beyond fear. They begin to pray. Because when you talk to Jesus, you're talking to God. When you talk to God, we call it prayer. And this is their prayer. We beg you to leave our country. Remember I said before, there's an awful lot of begging in this section of Mark. And this one is they implore him, they beg him to leave their country. Now that's extremely interesting because we can now begin to put their reaction as a series of symptoms and compare them with the symptoms that also the demons had. Okay, symptom number one, they show fear in the presence of God. Symptom number two, they cannot see that anything good has happened. Symptom number three, they ask the Lord to leave their country. Do you remember? The demons wanted to be left alone in their country too. And fourthly, they show an unloving and uncaring attitude to the man who is sick. They are not, maybe they are tormenting him by chaining him up and leaving him in the tombs, but they're certainly unloving and uncaring. And that means, and St. John Chrysostom also says, that they belong also to the demons. They are without God, and they want to remain without God, and they want to remain with the demons that they all have. That's an interesting insight into them. It was said to me some while ago, what's the name of that priest? Very famous speaker. It's crazy the way it goes out of your mind all of a sudden. That these are the people with the hidden demons. They are. He died a little while ago. Father something something. Everybody's father something something. But these are the people with the hidden demons who are there that we don't even notice because it's so ordinary that they have the hidden demons. And St. John Chrysostom says they already belong to the demons, and therefore, you look at the symptoms, you can see that to be the case. So what does the Lord do? Does he try and persuade them and say, actually, you need me, I ought to stay around. You also have demons that you need to have dealt with. He doesn't say that. He gets back into the boat. He answers their prayer. They say, go away. Okay, I will go away. But there's somebody else on the shoreline. And that somebody else, who is it? Yes, thank you very much indeed, Malengeth. Father Thomas Hopko is the one who said that. Isn't that strange? The second you're told, it's so obvious. Father Thomas Hopko, he said that the people in the town, they're the ones with the hidden demons, the ones that are all around them, but they haven't noticed, and nobody else has noticed them either, because they're so enmeshed with their lives. Now, the other person left on the shoreline is the man previously filled with demons, who is now clothed in his right mind, sitting calmly and feeling loved. And he wants to go with this person who has healed him. And he comes, he begs Jesus, he begs him, let me come out of this country, let me go with you. And the Lord answers his prayer too. And this is quite interesting. He says, no, I'm not permitting that. I permitted the demons to come out of you and into the pigs and permitted them to drown. I permitted the townspeople to ask me to leave, and I am leaving. But my answer to your prayer is this: stay where you are. Stay amongst your own people, in your own home, with all those around you, those who have seen what has happened, and proclaim the great things, the great compassion that God has shown upon you. And stay where you are. That's interesting. You'll see that you don't always get the answer to prayer in the way that you hoped for. And in this particular case, it's exactly the opposite of what he hoped for. He wanted to come with the man who had healed him. It's very interesting, that is. It means that he has been healed by Christ, and he realizes that being healed by Christ is the same as being healed by God. It's all one and the same thing to him. And he now wants to stay with this God-man, this man-God. What God did, who did it, are the same things. And that's a really important factor there. And he is then obedient. He does what he is told. He is willingly obedient too. It is not like the demons who came out unwillingly and into the pigs and carried on destroying. Now that he is freed from the demons, he willingly goes out into all of that area, it says, the area of the Decapolis, the 10 cities. In the end, there were more than 10 cities. But into that, it was actually a Hellenic area, a non-Jewish cultural area, non-Jewish people, hence the pigs. And he preached to his own people, and it said about him that all marveled. Now, I think that's really quite important. It's an aside, but it's very important. All of these amazing things have happened so far, and this little bit here gets forgotten. Do you notice that the Lord sends him back to preach to his own? And I think that is a tremendously important thing. No matter how good a missionary is from another culture or another class, another country is preaching in an area or to a people, they're best preached to by one person from their own, somebody from their own culture, their own background, their own type, is able to speak to them much more clearly than somebody from outside that area and culture can. Okay? It's obvious. And it's clear when you sometimes hear people from outside a particular culture talking, you can see that actually they don't quite understand what is going on in the minds of the people they're talking to. You can then end up with, and neither for that matter do the people you're talking to understand what you're saying either. There's an interesting example of this. When I lived in Zambia, one of the tribes had been missionized by Scottish Presbyterians. Back in the time when women wore bustles, those things they put on their bottoms to make their dresses stick out even further. And now, part and parcel of Christianity in that tribe is the women wear bustles. And you can tell whether or not a Christian by whether or not they're wearing a bustle. And somehow or other they got into their minds that this was part of the Christian message. Christianity meant you wore a bustle. And I often wonder, it's obviously in so many times outside my own background, my own culture and all the rest of it, what people make of me talking away, doing stuff, and think, oh gosh, that's fine within his own particular culture, within his own background and all the rest of it. And it would indeed be good to find people who are local to this culture here in Lincolnshire, been born and brought up here and understand it because they're part of it, and be able to speak to the people around them of Christ in exactly their own culture. For that matter, it's a good thing when thinking about mission and evangelism in our own area to have people from that area actually working on the mission and the culture, mission and evangelism in a way that people can understand and realize that it's not the same as it were back home. And also realizing that what goes on back home changes also. So the Lord actually sending this man from the Decapolis back to the Decapolitans is an example of mission that we should also take on board. They used to call it post-colonialism in East Africa, indigenization. And indigenization of everything, but particularly within the church in East Africa and Central Africa, certainly in Zambia, was highly successful. It was a deliberate attempt amongst Catholics and Protestants to move the white missionaries out, to send them back to Britain or back to wherever they came from, but to support local clergy and local missioners working in their own area. And that actually worked exceptionally well. I just see what Phoebe has said. That is true, but it means, for instance, that somebody from town A goes to town B, but within the same sort of area. The whole of the Lord's ministry, we could encompass and drive around the whole area in a car in one afternoon. So he worked in a very small space indeed. Okay, tomorrow it will be not live streamed. It'll be, what's the opposite of live streamed? I want to say dead stream. It'll be pre-recorded. And we'll be looking at the first, when the Lord crosses over to the other side, and what happens shortly thereafter with Jairus and others. And I think what we might do tomorrow rather, because I'm going to do it in 2 or 3 minutes from now, what we might do is actually divide up the rest of this chapter into 2 bits and have everything about Jairus and his daughter, and then everything about the woman who's got the flow of blood, and just mention what's going on there. And I think that would be an important thing there. Right, let's see what people have been saying. Phoebe says something absolutely true. Demons are not a problem in one's life unless we try and get rid of them and the passions they feed on. How true that is. The second you try and do something for God, you can guarantee that everybody, including yourself, will be against you. I often think I can't do right for doing wrong. I try and do something, often I make the wrong decision. And even if I make the right decision, half the world is against what I'm doing, including myself. And yes, bless the Orthodox teachers, you need to pray for them. Pray for even our great teachers of the past, people like St. John Chrysostom. Our prayers are eternal prayers. They go off into the ether, and we can help people even from the past or even into the future. Tatiana, yes, Father Thomas Hopko, a superb teacher. He once came to Britain, and I heard him preach without notes, teach actually without notes, for about an hour and a half, which is normally so boring. I guess you're all wandering off to go and make yourselves cups of coffee and stuff now. But he was absolutely fascinating. And the way that he really knew the scriptures and was able to pull up the scriptures from his mind, from all over the whole scriptures, was really impressive. He was the one who said, every day try and learn a passage of the scriptures. I tried doing that. I'm absolutely hopeless of it. Someone has sent me some really good ideas about how to help with that. And I'm going to try and share that idea. I think that the time when everybody goes mad, we're accused of being mad, although we're sane, Phoebe, is always, always around us for everybody. Good morning, Alex, in New Carolina, I think it is. God bless you, Ian. Happy feast day. Did the Gadarenes not have the image of God in them? Yes, of course they did. And that might be something worth talking about another time. Everybody has the image of God in them. But sometimes it's like the image of, in our country here, having the image of the Queen on a penny. When I was a child, it was quite fun because you could collect lots of pennies. And I can remember collecting pennies with Queen Victoria's face on them, head on them. That was back in the 1960s and early 70s before decimalization came. And what's really interesting about that was that the image was there and the thing was still worth a penny, but it was terribly worn. So you could just see the outline of Queen Victoria on the penny, unless you were very lucky. Just the very outline of it, and nothing else is there. And a friend of mine, he used to take a £20 note and say, what is this worth? And everybody say £20. He'd then crumple it up and tread on it until it was dirty and crumpled up. Illegal thing to do in some countries. And then show everybody and say, what's it worth now? And they say, it's still worth £20. And those people there, they still had the image and likeness of God in them, the image of God in them. But they were dirtied, they were crumpled, they were damaged, they were torn, they were spoiled. And what the Lord can do is take that infinite worth that they already have and make it beautiful, sparkling, crisp, put it back, as it were. It's like on a computer, and it's got all sorts of things wrong with it. You return it to factory settings and return it all back as it was. And that's what baptism and communion and confession, all those other things do to you. Everybody is of infinite worth. That's why it is that people will climb into a boat and go off onto the rough seas to rescue one person who's drowning, despite the fact they put 15 people's lives in danger. And they come back, even if 14 of those 15 drowned, if they return with the person who's drowning, it was a successful trip. Because one person is not worth the same as another person. Everybody is of infinite value. And we're given that value by God. And it doesn't matter, actually, what has happened to them. Otherwise, if we said that they were not in the image and likeness of God, that mean that those people nowadays had demons on them, were not in the image and likeness of God, and it wouldn't be worth doing anything for them. I just seen Frank is there. Frank's wife Vera used to say about silver. You know, in the psalm it says, "Silver from the furnace 7 times refined." You burn away all of the dross from the silver. You'll have to keep 25 minutes, not beating my record. You burn away all the dross from the silver. And apparently the silversmith, what he does, or she does, is look at the silver. And at some point, the silversmith can see his or her own image in the crucible of the silver, and then knows that the silver is now pure. And a sense in which, actually, every time a silversmith looks into the silver, the image is there, but it's difficult to see. It's partly hidden. And only when all the dross, all the evil, as it were, has been burnt out of the silver, can the silversmith see her own image. And the image is still there with all of us, but sometimes it's crumpled and dirty or worn off, but it's still worth a penny of Queen Victoria is still worth a penny. And the £20 note with the Queen's face on it is still worth the £20, no matter what a terrible and awful journey that note or that coin has had. The same as you. You're still of infinite value, whatever has happened to you. Okay, time to go. God bless you, Tony. Nice to see you there. God willing, I shall be live streaming on Friday at 10 o'clock. You never know, I might even be able to keep myself to 10 minutes. Okay, your prayers. God bless you. Pray, please, for the Barton family today. I just had a message from Alan to say that the packers are in their house. They're doing a lot of the work. It's a very fraught and difficult time. I know how that is. I moved house, must be nearly 50 times. And it's always very fraught when you're moving home. So pray for them. I missed somebody up here. Of course, there's Helena from Worcester, who lives just along the road from where I was a little boy. So you can go down there later on today and wave at number 27. Part of my heart is always in that little area. You know how it is when you grow up, even for a short time somewhere, something about that place instills itself into you. And I remember going to visit Helen, her husband, John, and Chrysostom, and the smell of the area is what I could remember. Something about the trees along there, lime trees along there, really sort of go into your mind. Okay, God bless you. Good morning, Tim. God bless all of you. Pray for me. Bye-bye.